So today, I am going to be doing the final portion of this bathroom renovation, the flooring. And as you know, I picked out what I've been calling a rivet look, but it's actually more of a metal look. And I think it's going to be quirky and fun to put on my bathroom floor. Now, I don't have a very large bathroom. It's only 7 feet by 5 feet, and it's not even really that because I've got a cabinet over here and the toilet in the way, so it's actually a little smaller than that, but I made sure I got enough for 7 feet by 5 feet. What's interesting is that when I ordered this on the Wayfair site, it had it in centimeters. And so when I put in 7 feet by 5 feet, it told me I needed 2 boxes of flooring. I actually only need one and one extra sheet. And I can't really be mad about that because I figure it's always better to have more of what you need than not enough. You never want to be in the middle of a project and then discover you don't have enough paint, enough hardware, enough whatever it is that you're going to be needing for your project. For the Fablon, the fellow that I took the idea from, he said he used 8 rolls of Fablon to do his shower area. Now, it could be that his shower was a little bit bigger, may have been smaller. I don't know if he had the ceiling like I do. I don't remember seeing that part in his, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough because I knew that I had to do the ceiling as well. And so I made sure that I got 12 rows, just to be on the safe side, and in case something really got messed up, I was covered. And then too, you have backup, so if somewhere down the line, your Fablon gets messed up somehow, you still have enough to take care of your project and fix whatever made it messed up. Before I get started today, I did want to thank all of you for being here and joining me in my journey for my bathroom renovation. I've had setbacks, I've had frustrations, I've had funny moments like the Fablon falling on my head as I was trying to put it on the ceiling, and I hope you guys got a good giggle out of that one. Since I was doing it by myself, it was a little bit more challenging. If I had someone helping me, it probably would have gone by a lot faster and a lot easier. But I wanted to show that you can do this yourself. I have mentioned, I don't know how many times, I am in no way a professional. I'm just a regular person. I've never done anything like this before, but I was not going to let that stop me. If you are too hesitant to try something you've never tried before, you're never going to do it. And I wanted to renovate this bathroom for so long and make it look pretty because I was so tired of the 1960s look that it had to it. So I decided I'm going to take the plunge, and if I messed up, well, it's my mess up. But you know what? So far, I'm happy with what I've done. It may not be perfect, but I like it. And I wanted to challenge you to take on a project that you haven't done before and do it. And if you make a mistake, you know, it's not really the end of the world. Things happen. You'll have setbacks. You'll have triumphs. You will get finished with it and go, wow, this looks amazing. And I'm really hoping that after I have this all together and you see what I've done, you'll want to take on those challenges because you're like, wait, she did it. I can do this. And like I said, I'm doing this all myself. So it's like, if little me can do this, you can do this. Anyone can do this. So let's get started with flooring. Now, my biggest challenge areas is going to be around the toilet. And I know this, so I made a template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pieces together that I know need to go in that area, tape them, and then cut out the toilet area using my template. Give me a minute to get that set up, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so my template, I basically made out of scraps of paper I found lying around. So I have it laid out on the Fablon, and at the front you'll notice that I do have a gap here, but that's because there's other Fablon pieces that are going to go into that slot, so I'm not concerned. It's actually not as big as it looks. It's just like the edge really that's going to be covered by another piece coming from the other direction. So all of my Fablons can be laid from this wall over to this wall. And it takes roughly 3 pieces to go, 1, 2, 3 before it hits the cabinet or the toilet. So it's just a little bit of an overlap, and I'll cut off those pieces when I get to there. as I mentioned, my biggest challenge was going to be moving around the toilet. And so I made a template. Cheesy, cheap template out of paper I found lying around. And I measured very carefully all around from the tub to the back wall to the side cabinet. And I was actually clever enough to have marked cabinet, front, back wall, tub. So when I came to look at this later, I wouldn't be wondering, wait, which way does this go? So I'm glad I had that foresight. So whenever you're making a template, make sure that you mark it so that you know what direction it's going to go on to whatever it is that you're going to be using it for, so that you're not putting it down and going, wait a minute, which way is the right way? Always mark your templates. I learned that from sewing. I do a lot of Victorian clothing sewing, and you have to mark your panels so that you know what goes where. Otherwise, you're going to end up with an outer panel on the inside or an inner panel on the outside or something upside down. So I always mark on my my template, you know, inside panel top, and I'll do an arrow, or outside panel left, outside panel right. So this way I can't get them mixed up. And for any project that you're doing and that you're using a template, mark it the same way. Front, side, back, whatever you need to do to identify it so that when you do use the template, you're not, I made this template, but now I can't use it because I don't remember how it goes. Okay? I do have my Fablon underneath, and you can see it here. I actually taped it from the other side, and I have 4 pieces, and I did have to cut down 2 of them 2 inches to make them shorter, so that when I place it next to the toilet, it's going to hit the back wall and not be too long, so I have to sit there then with a utility knife and try and cut it behind a toilet, which is, I don't know if you've ever tried to cut something behind something that's really in your way. It's not easy. So this is the best way to handle difficult, challenging spots like that. Create a paper template. Paper's cheap, use scrap, that's what I did. And this way too, if you mess up your template, it's scrap paper, who cares? You can always do it again. And I could see on some of this that I had actually redrawn a line just to make sure that I had the right curvature for the toilet, so that I wasn't cutting and then finding out I cut it too short. So yeah, it's always something to keep in mind. Make sure that your measurements are accurate. Make sure that when you're drawing your template, you're drawing it accurately, because you don't want to cut it, it's too long or it's too short. Well, if it's too long, you could probably alter it a little bit. If it's too short, you're kind of screwed. And I've had that happen with some of the Fablon I was cutting on my my countertop. I cut a piece, I measured, cut it, and then when I put it back on my counter, I'm like, wait, why is this short now? Somehow along the way, I managed to cut it a little too short, and it was only by like 1/8 of an inch, but that can really ruin your project. Whenever you are making a template, make sure you measure well and you mark it. I had this literally up against the cabinet, up against the tub, up against the back wall. So I wasn't just relying on, this was 3 inches, this was 10 inches. I literally had it up against there so that I know the exact measurements of it. I moved the paper around, I taped it to make sure it wouldn't move, because I didn't want to get to this portion and then it's like, something doesn't look right. I wanted to make sure that when I put my template down on my Fablon, that there was no mistaking what went where. And because I made the template, I think it's going to make going around the toilet a heck of a lot easier. The only other challenge I'm going to have is I've got a heat register here, but I just figured out how to do that one. Basically, I laid the 2 pieces down that are going to be covering it, and then with my ruler went around and marked the spots so I can just cut that out. Other than that, I don't really see any challenges to putting this floor down. So I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to get started laying down my Fablon. I am so excited to do this. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am for this project and this point of this project. So let me get started on this. I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to start laying my tiles. Literally, they are going to be going from this wall to this wall all the way over, so that any short pieces or not as pretty pieces are going to be against the wall and not really seen, rather than out in the open where you could see them very easily. Let's get started. So remember what I said about using your template correctly? Well, yeah. I had marked my Fablon floor tiles with them face down rather than face up. So when I took off my template and looked at it, I'm like, oh, I got the skinny side on the wrong side. There's no fixing that, so I had to do it over. It's just one of those things. Makes me glad I have those extra tiles. I'm not gonna let it bother me. You know, I've had setbacks. I've had lots of setbacks. But you know what? If I let every little setback bother me, none of this would get done. Onward. So you can see I started putting these down. And it's going pretty well. The only part that I'm having an issue with is behind the toilet. It doesn't want to stick as well. So I'm going to have to use glue there. So now I'm going to do my register. I already cut out these pieces so that they would fit. And this one actually is going to go here. And this one will go here. It doesn't matter that it's a little bit wonky because the register cover is going to go right over this. And you're never going to see these ragged edges. Yeah, let's not talk about how dirty my register is. Before I do anything though, I'm going to wipe over the floor to make sure there's no dust, like in my register, or debris on the floor, so that these stick. Now the hard part, I was always trying to get these things to peel. Oh, that one did really fast. Okay, let me see now. Up against the wall, up against the one in front of it. Okay, number one is done. And now piece two. This one's going to be a little bit more challenging because it's a U shape. Let's see. Don't give me a hard time. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, I cut into it a little bit. I said not really a big deal because the register will cover that. So I'm going to clean up the edges here. That's better. That's not too bad. I'm just going to leave that. I don't know if I can get this one. I will try. Okay, got that bit too. So now when my register goes over this, it's actually going to cover over the edges of this, so I'm not concerned. Let's continue on. Before I lay each piece, I'm going to repeat the same process. Wiping over the floor to make sure there's no dust or anything that I may have missed. I mean, especially since I'm moving around a lot. I don't want any dust on the floor. That will keep this from sticking, and that will make me very unhappy. There's got to be one corner that's easier than the others. Hey, I think I found it. Okay, so again, right up next to the other two. Look how beautiful that is. When I put this one here, I'm just going to cut around the toilet. That's why in my template there was a bigger spot open at the front, and that's because this piece will take care of that. So rather than having you sit here watching me peel and stick, I am just going to fast forward and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. I had a lot of success with it sticking just to the floor. Had that issue behind the toilet, and then I'm going to have to get some glue for because it just doesn't want to stick. I don't know what the issue is there. I made sure that I wiped it clean before I put anything down. There was no dust or anything. I mopped the floor, but it's just being ornery because, well, that's just how this project's gone. Something always wants to put a monkey wrench into the works, and I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm just going to work around it and continue on. Making progress. So there you have it. The floor is done. And I really love it. I mean, look how fabulous that is. And it might be a little quirky, but look how well it goes with the dark blue on the cabinets and the white, as well as the Fablon in my shower and on my countertop. So that completes my bathroom renovation journey. I've taken you from prep to painting to hardware to flooring to Fablon. And every step of the way, you got to see my struggles, and then you got to see the fabulous results after I overcame those struggles. As I mentioned before, if you're tackling a project that you've never done before, don't let it scare you. Try it. Take the leap and try it. You mess something up, find a workaround. You know how many times I messed up the painting or the Fablon and had to redo it? The flooring. I don't really think these are exactly 12 by 12 squares because I had to keep repositioning them because they weren't matching up next to each other the way that they should. But you know what? I didn't let it bother me. I just found my workaround and I did it. And I think it all looks fabulous. I couldn't be happier. I have new hardware, I have new countertops, I have new flooring, I have a new shower. All because I took the risk and made that leap and decided to do this myself. I did some research online before I bought my materials and went with the most cost-effective and long-lasting materials that I could find. I didn't want to have any of this falling apart later on me, so I made sure that I did the research on every product. What were the reviews on these products? How did it work for other people? And if it had bad reviews, I went on and looked for something else. I was not going to have something that was inferior in my bathroom. This is something that has got to last me a long time, and so I want it to look fabulous. And it does. I'm really, really happy with this. So please, leave a comment below. Tell me what you thought of this journey, how you could have maybe done something better. I said, I am not a professional by any means, so I made a lot of mistakes. But maybe, you have some helpful hint if I ever do something like this in the future. Hey, maybe if you did this instead of this, or something along those lines. I would greatly appreciate your input. Thank you just for being here on my channel. I appreciate every single one of you for stopping in, watching my vids, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. It means a lot to me to see that number go up a little bit. At the time of this recording, I'm at 92 subscribers. I am trying so hard to get to 100, my first big milestone. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so I can hit that milestone. And please make sure to like and share. Even if you just want to share it because it's funny. And I know that there have been issues along the way that, you can make fun of. It's totally fine. I was laughing at myself. Every time I made a mistake, it's like, are you kidding me? But then, I just turned around and fixed whatever it was. And you can do this yourself too. I know you can. If you have any questions for me about any of the products, any of the procedures that I did, any of the tools I used, please drop them below. I'm going to try and list everything that I used, where I got it from, how much it cost in the comments below. But in case I missed something, because sometimes when you're working on something, you don't always think about all the little minutia that goes along with it. So if I missed anything, drop a comment below and say, hey, where'd you get this? Or what tool did you use for this? I'm happy to answer those questions for you. Thank you again for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.